Really frustrated. Inside Ruben Amorim's angry reaction to Manchester United's shocking Everton defeat. Welcome back to United Daily Updates, your most trusted source for everything Manchester United. If you are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel right now. We bring you honest analysis, breaking news, tactical breakdowns, and the inside story on everything happening at Old Trafford. We do not sugarcoat things, and we always tell you the truth about what is really going on with our beloved club. Today we need to talk about what happened on Monday night at Old Trafford. And more importantly, we need to talk about how Ruben Amorim reacted to one of the most embarrassing defeats in recent memory. Because this was not just another loss. This was a night that exposed serious problems at Manchester United, and Amorim's reaction both during and after the match told us everything we need to know about where this team is right now. Manchester United lost 1-0 at home to Everton. That sounds bad enough. But here is what makes it absolutely unforgivable. Everton played with 10 men for 77 minutes of the match. They had a player sent off in the 13th minute for slapping his own teammate. And they still beat Manchester United at Old Trafford. Amorim was visibly furious on the touchline. He was screaming at his players. He was throwing his arms up in frustration. And after the match, he did not hold back. He described the performance as really frustrating, admitted Everton deserved to win, and even said he wished his own players showed the same fighting spirit that got an Everton player sent off. So let me take you through exactly what happened, what Amorim said and did, what it means, and where Manchester United go from here. This is going to be a deep dive into one of the darkest nights of the season. Grab a cup of tea and let's get into it. The match that left Amorim furious. Let me paint you the full picture of how Monday night unfolded at Old Trafford. Because to understand Amorim's fury, you need to understand just how badly this went wrong from start to finish. The bizarre red card. In the 13th minute, something happened that you rarely see in football. Everton midfielder Idrissa Gana Gueye got into an argument with his own teammate Michael Keane. The two players were frustrated about something that happened defensively, and suddenly Gueye slapped Keane across the face. The referee had no choice. Straight red card. Violent conduct. Gueye was off, and Everton were down to 10 men with over 75 minutes still to play. Now, as a Manchester United fan sitting in the stadium or watching at home, you would have been relieved at this point. The game just got much easier. United had 11 men against 10 at Old Trafford. They had over an hour to break down the opposition and win the game. It should have been straightforward. But that is not what happened. Not even close. Everton score against the run of play. Just 16 minutes after the red card, in the 29th minute, Everton took the lead. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall hit an absolute screamer from outside the box. The ball flew into the top corner, and Old Trafford fell silent. Nobody could believe it. Everton, down to 10 men, had just scored at Old Trafford. They were winning despite having a player sent off. It made no sense whatsoever. At this point, you still expected United to turn it around. There were 60 minutes left. They had the extra man. They had the home crowd. Surely they would equalize and go on to win. That is what good teams do when they face adversity. But United could not do it. For the next hour, they huffed and puffed but could not blow the house down. Everton defended with 10 men, they blocked everything, and they held on for a famous victory. When the final whistle blew, it was one of the most shocking results of the entire season. And Ruben Amorim was absolutely furious. Amorim's fury on the touchline. Let me tell you about what was happening on the touchline during this match. Because Amorim's body language and reactions told the story of his growing frustration as the game went on. Attack, attack, attack. In the 78th minute, something significant happened in the stands at Old Trafford. The fans started chanting. Not in support. Not to encourage the team. They were chanting attack, attack, attack. If you know anything about Manchester United history, you know these chants are bad news for any manager. They date back to the Louis van Gaal days when fans were frustrated by boring, defensive football. When United fans start chanting attack, 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 it means they think the team is playing too cautiously and not going for the win aggressively enough. This was happening with United a goal down against 10 men. The fans were demanding more urgency, more attacking intent, more risks. They wanted to see their team going all out for an equalizer. Screaming at his players. The moment Amorim heard those chants, he reacted immediately. He was stood right on the touchline, and he started screaming at his players. He was gesturing frantically toward the Everton goal. The message was clear: get forward, attack, take risks, score a goal. Amorim was desperate. You could see it in his body language. He knew how bad this looked. He knew the opportunity was slipping away. And he was trying everything he could to get his players to respond. Throwing his arms up in anger. Then came a moment that perfectly captured Amorim's frustration. United had the ball in a good position. The fans were urging them forward. Amorim was screaming for them to attack. And then a United player passed the ball backward. Amorim could not believe it. He threw his arms up in the air in complete exasperation. Then he turned his back on the game in anger. It was a moment of total frustration from a manager who could not understand why his team was being so cautious when they needed a goal. This was Amorim at his most emotional. He was not trying to hide his feelings. He was not staying calm and composed. He was showing everyone exactly how he felt about what he was watching. The look of a defeated man. By the final whistle, Amorim looked like a defeated man. His head was down. His shoulders were slumped. You could see the disappointment and frustration written all over his face. This was not the look of a manager who thought his team was unlucky. This was the look of someone who knew his team had failed badly and had nobody to blame but themselves. What Amorim said after the match. The real fireworks came in the post-match interviews. Amorim spoke to multiple media outlets, and he did not hold back. Let me take you through the key quotes and what they reveal about his mindset. Really frustrated like any Manchester United fan. Speaking to Sky Sports, Amorim started by saying he was feeling really frustrated like any other person that supports Manchester United. This is significant because he was putting himself in the same category as the fans. He was saying, I am just as angry as you are about what we just watched. He went on to say they should all be frustrated with the way United started the game and the way they did not understand how to play against 10 men. This is Amorim admitting that from the very first minute, something was wrong with his team's approach and mentality. Everton were the better team. Amorim then said something that must have been painful to admit. He said Everton were the better team. Not just when they had 11 men, but even when they were down to 10. He said we did not control the transitions even with 10 men, and we were giving them big spaces to win second balls. This is the manager being brutally honest. He is not making excuses. He is not saying United were unlucky. He is flat out admitting that Everton deserved to win because they played better football and showed more intensity. The understanding was not there. One phrase Amorim kept repeating was that the understanding of every situation in the game was not there. This is a damning assessment. He is saying his players did not read the game properly, did not make the right decisions, and did not adjust to what was happening on the pitch. For a manager, this must be incredibly frustrating. You can prepare a tactical plan, you can coach your players all week, but if they do not understand the game when they get out there, nothing will work. The intensity was missing. Amorim identified intensity as the most important thing that was missing. He said you can feel it right away when we start the game in the first minute. You can feel when we are at the top level of intensity and when we are not. He went on to say we cannot win games in this way. The message was clear. Without the right intensity and aggression, Manchester United cannot compete. It does not matter how good the tactics are or how talented the players are. If the intensity is not there, you will lose. Surprised by the drop in level. Speaking to the BBC, Amorim admitted he was surprised by how his team performed. He said of course it did surprise him, especially after the good run of form they had been on recently. He said the way we presented ourselves in the first minute of the game is really frustrating. We dropped the level. This tells you that Amorim expected his team to come out flying, to take advantage of the situation, and to show hunger. Instead, they were flat from the start. He did all right, but everyone should play better. When asked specifically about Joshua Zirkzee, who started the match in place of the injured Benjamin Sesko, Amorim gave a blunt 3-word verdict. He did all right. But then he quickly added, but I think everyone should play better tonight. This was Amorim refusing to single out one player. He was saying the whole team was not good enough, not just Zirkzee. This shows a manager who is taking collective responsibility rather than throwing individual players under the bus. But it also shows someone who is deeply unhappy with the overall performance. Wishing his players would fight like Everton. Perhaps the most striking comments came when Amorim was asked about the bizarre sending off. He said something that shocked a lot of people. He said fighting is not a bad thing. Fighting does not mean they do not like each other. Fighting is that if you lose the ball, I will fight you because we will suffer a goal. Amorim then said I do not agree with that sending off. He went on to say I hope my players when they lose the ball, they fight each other. Now they cannot get sent off, but that is a good feeling not a bad feeling. This is remarkable. Amorim was basically saying he wishes his own players showed the same passion and intensity that led to an Everton player getting sent off. He was envious of that fighting spirit, that desire to win, that refusal to accept mistakes. It was a clear message to his squad. You are too soft. You are too comfortable. You need to care more. You need to fight more. Even if it means arguing with each other when things go wrong. Afraid of last season's feeling returning. One of the most concerning things Amorim said was that he feels afraid of returning to the feeling of last season. He said, "That is my biggest concern. Last season was a disaster for Manchester United. They finished 8th in the Premier League. The mood around the club was toxic. There were constant questions about the manager's future. It was a miserable time." Amorim is saying he can feel that same negative energy starting to creep back in. The inconsistency, the lack of intensity, the disappointing results. He is worried that all the progress made during the recent good run is about to be undone. Not even near where they need to be. Amorim was also asked about where United are in their development. He gave a very honest answer. He said, "We are not there, not even near the point that we should be to fight for the best positions in the league." This is a manager being realistic about his team's level. He knows they have a long way to go. He knows they are not good enough yet to compete with the top teams. And performances like the one against Everton prove that point. What he said to the players. When asked what he said to the team after the match, Amorim gave a short answer. "Nothing. We have training tomorrow. I will deal with that tomorrow." This tells you he was probably too angry to have a productive conversation immediately after the match. Sometimes it is better to wait, let emotions calm down, and then address things properly in training. Amorim clearly felt that way. Everything needed to be different. When asked what United could have done differently, Amorim gave a one-word answer. Everything. He then said, "I do not want to put anything specifically. We did not play well. We did not understand and we were going with the flow of the game. That is my biggest concern. This is total condemnation of the performance. Nothing was good enough. Everything needs to improve. It was a complete failure across the board. Why this performance was so bad? Let me explain why this defeat and this performance was so unacceptable. Because it is important to understand the full context of why Amorim was so angry. The perfect storm of opportunity. Everything was set up perfectly for Manchester United to have a great weekend. Liverpool lost to Nottingham Forest. Manchester City drew with Newcastle. Tottenham got thrashed by Arsenal. All of United's rivals had dropped points. United had the chance to move up to 5th in the Premier League table with a win. They could have closed the gap on the teams above them. They could have made a real statement that they are getting back into the race for Champions League football. And the opponent was Everton at home. A winnable game. A must-win game really. This was the kind of opportunity that champions take advantage of. This was a moment to show character and ambition. But United blew it. They wasted the perfect opportunity. And that is what makes it so frustrating for Amorim and for all United fans. 77 minutes against 10 men. Let me say this again because it bears repeating. United played 77 minutes against 10 men at home and could not score a single goal. That is unforgivable at this level. When you have an extra player for that long, you should be able to break down any defense. You can overload areas. You can stretch the opposition. You can tire them out. You have every advantage possible. But United could not capitalize. They had 75% of the possession. They had chance after chance. And they could not put the ball in the net even once. Top teams do not let this happen. Manchester City would have won that game 3-0 or 4-0. Liverpool would have found a way. Arsenal would have dominated. Even teams like Aston Villa or Brighton would have got the job done. United could not. And that tells you something is very wrong. The intensity was missing from minute 1. Amorim kept talking about intensity, and he is absolutely right to focus on this. You could see from the first minute that United were not at it. They were slow. They were passive. They were going through the motions. Everton, even before the red card, looked more up for the game. They were winning second balls. They were pressing aggressively. They were playing with energy and desire. United looked like they thought they just had to turn up and the 3 points would come. There was no urgency, no hunger, no fire in their bellies. And when Everton went down to 10 men, instead of smelling blood and going for the kill, United somehow became even more cautious and slow. It made no sense. The tactical understanding was not there. Amorim talked about how his players did not understand the situations in the game. This is a huge problem. Against 10 men, you need to be smart tactically. You need to move the ball quickly to tire the opposition. You need to stretch them wide and then attack the middle. You need to be patient but also know when to speed up and go direct. You need to make runs to create space for others. United did none of these things effectively. They were predictable. They were easy to defend against. Everton knew exactly what was coming because United had no variation or creativity in their approach. This is on the players for not executing, but it is also on Amorim and his coaching staff for not preparing the team properly for this scenario. Individual quality was lacking. Even beyond tactics and intensity, the simple individual quality was not good enough. Bruno Fernandes, who should be creating chances and scoring goals, missed a good opportunity. Joshua Zirkzee tested Jordan Pickford a few times but could not find the net. The crossing was poor. The passing in the final third was sloppy. The decision-making was bad. Too many United players had off nights at the same time, and that is why they could not score. In games like this, you need your best players to step up and produce moments of magic. United's best players did not do that, and Amorim has every right to be angry about it. What this means for Amorim's future. Now let's address the big question. What does this mean for Ruben Amorim and his future at Manchester United? Is his job in danger? What happens next? He is not getting sacked right now. Let me be very clear about this. Despite some reports and rumors flying around on social media, Ruben Amorim is not getting sacked. His job is not in immediate danger. The club is still backing him and still believes in the long-term project. Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the Ineos Group have made it clear they want to give Amorim time to build something. They do not want to fall into the trap of constantly changing managers every few months. They have seen where that approach leads, and they want to be more patient this time. So anyone claiming Amorim has been sacked or is about to be sacked is spreading false information. That is not happening right now. But the pressure is definitely on. However, that does not mean Amorim is comfortable or secure. The pressure is definitely on. The heat is rising. And he knows he needs to turn things around quickly. This Everton defeat was a huge blow to his credibility. It raised serious questions about whether he can get this team performing consistently. It made people wonder if his tactics are working. It made fans doubt whether he is the right man for the job. Amorim has credit in the bank from the recent good run of results. But that credit is being used up quickly. He cannot afford too many more performances like this one. If the bad results start piling up, the calls for change will get louder and harder to ignore. The next few matches are crucial. The upcoming fixtures are absolutely crucial for Amorim. United face Crystal Palace next, and they desperately need to win that game. Then they have more matches coming up in quick succession. If Amorim can get United back to winning ways, if he can show that the Everton match was just a one-off blip, then he will stabilize his position. The fans will calm down, the media will back off, and he will buy himself more time. But if United continue to struggle, if they drop more points they should not drop, if the performances do not improve, then Amorim will be in real trouble. At some point, patience runs out, even at a club that wants to give managers time. What he needs to do to save his position. So what does Amorim need to do to secure his future and get Manchester United back on track? Let me give you my thoughts. First, he needs to fix the intensity problem. This is non-negotiable. United must come out of every match with energy, aggression, and desire from the first whistle. No more slow starts. No more going through the motions. If the intensity is not there, nothing else will work. Second, he needs to find solutions for breaking down defensive teams. United will face many more opponents who sit deep with 10 or 11 men behind the ball. Amorim must develop patterns of play and tactical approaches that can unlock these defenses. Otherwise, United will keep dropping points in winnable games. Third, he needs to get more out of his best players. Bruno Fernandes needs to be creating and scoring consistently. The forwards need to be more clinical. The defenders need to be more solid. Too many players are underperforming, and that is partially on the manager to fix. Fourth, he needs to be braver in games. Against Everton, he should have gone all-out attack much earlier. He should have thrown caution to the wind and taken risks. In future matches, especially at home, Amorim needs to show he has the courage to gamble when necessary. Finally, he needs results. At the end of the day, football is about winning. Amorim needs to start collecting 3 points on a regular basis. The performances need to improve, but the results are what ultimately matter most. The fans are losing patience. Let me talk about the Manchester United fans for a moment, because their reaction to this defeat tells you a lot about where things stand. The boos at full time. When the final whistle blew at Old Trafford, there were loud boos from the crowd. The fans were letting the players and the manager know exactly how they felt. This was not good enough. This was not acceptable. Changes need to happen. Booing your own team is never a nice thing, but sometimes fans feel they have no other way to express their frustration. When you lose at home to 10 men, you deserve to be booed. That is the harsh reality of playing for a club like Manchester United. Attack, attack, attack chants. As I mentioned earlier, the fans started chanting attack, attack, attack during the match. This is a sign of deep frustration with the team's approach and tactics. United fans expect their team to play attacking football. That is the club's tradition and identity. When they see their team being cautious and negative, especially when chasing a goal against 10 men, they get angry. These chants were a direct message to Amorim. Your tactics are too defensive. Your team is too slow. We want to see more ambition and more attacking intent. If you do not give us that, we will let you know we are not happy. Social media meltdown. After the match, social media exploded with angry Manchester United fans. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere you looked, fans were venting their fury. Some were calling out individual players. Some were questioning Amorim's tactics. Some were demanding changes in the squad. Everyone had an opinion, and none of those opinions were positive. This is the reality of managing Manchester United in the modern age. Every mistake is magnified. Every bad result is analysed to death. Every decision is questioned by millions of people online. Amorim needs to develop thick skin and learn to handle this pressure, because it is not going away anytime soon. Some are starting to doubt. Perhaps most worryingly for Amorim, some fans are starting to doubt whether he is the right man for the job. Not everyone, and probably not even the majority yet. But the doubters are growing in number. When Amorim first arrived, there was excitement and optimism. Fans believed he could be the one to finally get United back to the top. But with every bad result, that belief erodes a little bit more. Once you lose the fans, it is very hard to win them back. Amorim is not at that point yet, but he is dangerously close. He needs to give fans something to believe in again, and he needs to do it quickly. What the players said. It is not just Amorim who had to face the media after this embarrassing defeat. Some of the players also gave interviews, and their comments were revealing. De Ligt, not good enough. Matthijs de Ligt spoke after the match and was honest about the performance. He said it was quite clear this was a bad night for us. He admitted United did not create many chances and did not do enough. De Ligt said from our side we did not make the runs or get bodies into the box. He said we basically played to their strengths, and that is not good enough. This is a player taking responsibility and admitting the team failed. De Ligt also said the team lacked a bit of urgency in several situations, which echoes what Amorim was saying about intensity. The squad knows they failed. The overall sense from the players who spoke is that they know they let everyone down. They know this was not acceptable. They know they have to be better. But knowing is not enough. They have to actually improve on the pitch. They have to show a response in the next match. Words mean nothing if the performances do not change. The bigger picture for Manchester United. Let me zoom out for a moment and look at the bigger picture. Where are Manchester United right now as a club? What are the underlying problems that led to this defeat? Still a club in transition. The reality is that Manchester United are still in transition. They have been rebuilding for years, trying to get back to the level of their glory days under Sir Alex Ferguson. Different managers have tried and failed. Different players have come and gone. Different strategies have been implemented. But United are still searching for the magic formula that will bring consistent success. Amorim is the latest manager tasked with this rebuilding job. He inherited a squad with problems, a club with structural issues, and expectations that are sky high. It is one of the toughest jobs in football. Squad quality remains an issue. Be honest for a moment. How many Manchester United players would get into the Manchester City team? How many would start for Liverpool or Arsenal? The answer is not many. United still have too many players who are not quite good enough for the level they want to compete at. Some are past their peak. Some never reached their potential. Some just do not fit the modern game. Until United sort out the squad and consistently bring in top-quality players, they will continue to have games like this one against Everton. You can have the best tactics in the world, but if the players cannot execute them, it does not matter. The culture needs to change. There is something wrong with the culture at Manchester United. Too many players seem comfortable with mediocrity. Too many lack the intensity and desire that Amorim keeps talking about. Compare United to Liverpool or Manchester City. Those teams have players who hate losing. Players who demand excellence from themselves and each other. Players who work incredibly hard every single day to be the best they can be. United need to develop that same winning mentality. They need players who will fight each other when mistakes are made, like Amorim said he wants. They need a culture where anything less than 100% effort and intensity is unacceptable. Building that culture takes time, but it also requires strong leadership from the manager. Amorim needs to set those standards and enforce them ruthlessly. Where United go from here? So what happens next for Manchester United and Ruben Amorim? Let me give you my thoughts on where things go from here. Crystal Palace is now a must-win. The next match against Crystal Palace has suddenly become huge. United are going away to Selhurst Park, which is never an easy place to go, and they desperately need 3 points. If United can win convincingly, it will ease the pressure on Amorim and show that the Everton match was just an aberration. It will give the fans something positive to focus on and restore some confidence to the squad. But if United drop points again, especially if they put in another flat performance, the crisis will deepen. The questions about Amorim will get louder. The pressure will intensify. And the situation could spiral quickly. Amorim needs to make changes. Based on what we saw against Everton, Amorim needs to make some changes. Maybe some personnel changes to the starting 11. Maybe some tactical adjustments to how the team plays. Maybe some changes to the training methods to improve intensity. Whatever it is, something needs to be different. Doing the same things and expecting different results is the definition of insanity. Amorim needs to show he can adapt and evolve. The players need to respond. Ultimately, the players need to take responsibility and respond. They need to show character. They need to prove they care about playing for Manchester United and wearing that shirt. If the same players keep putting in the same poor performances, then Amorim will have no choice but to drop them and give chances to others. Nobody should be guaranteed a place in this team right now. The board needs to back Amorim. While all of this is happening, the Manchester United board needs to continue backing Amorim publicly and giving him the resources he needs. Changing the manager now would be a mistake and would just reset everything again. But the board also needs to be honest with Amorim about expectations. They need to make it clear what standard is acceptable and what is not. There needs to be accountability at all levels of the club. My final thoughts. After everything we have discussed, what is my honest take on this situation? Let me give you my unfiltered opinion. Ruben Amorim has every right to be furious about what happened against Everton. That performance was unacceptable by any standard. The lack of intensity, the poor tactical understanding, the inability to break down 10 men, all of it was terrible. Amorim's frustration during and after the match was completely justified. He was not overreacting. He was responding appropriately to a team that let him down badly. The question now is whether he can turn this around. Does he have the ability to fix these problems? Can he get this squad playing with the intensity and quality needed to compete at the highest level? I honestly do not know the answer yet. Amorim has shown some good things during his time at United. The recent run of form before this defeat was promising. But games like this one against Everton raise serious doubts. What I do know is that the next few weeks will be crucial. How Amorim and the team respond to this defeat will tell us a lot about whether this project has a future or whether we are heading for another managerial change. As fans, we need to be patient but also realistic. We should support the team and the manager, but we should also demand better. We should not accept mediocrity or make excuses for poor performances. The Everton defeat was a reality check. It showed us that United still have a long way to go. It showed us that the problems run deep. And it showed us that Ruben Amorim is not a miracle worker who can fix everything overnight. But it also showed us a manager who cares deeply about getting things right. A manager who is honest about the problems. A manager who is not afraid to demand more from his players. And maybe, just maybe, that is the kind of manager United need right now. Wrapping up. Thank you so much for reading this deep dive into Ruben Amorim's angry reaction to Manchester United's shocking defeat to Everton. I know it has been a tough read, and I know these are difficult times to be a United fan. But we have to face reality and talk honestly about what is going wrong. The Everton defeat was one of the lowest points of the season. Amorim's visible fury both during and after the match showed how seriously he is taking this failure. His blunt assessment that Everton deserved to win and that United lacked intensity was refreshingly honest, even if it was painful to hear. Make sure you subscribe to United Daily Updates on YouTube if you have not already. We will be bringing you all the latest news, reactions, and analysis as this story continues to develop. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think. Was Amorim right to be so angry? Do you agree with his assessment? What changes would you make for the Palace match? I love hearing from you all, and your comments make this community so special. The next few matches will tell us a lot about where Manchester United and Ruben Amorim are headed. Will they respond with character and determination? Or will the problems continue and the pressure mount? We will be here covering every moment of it. This is a challenging time to be a Manchester United fan. But we have been through tough times before and we have always come out the other side. We are Manchester United. We are one of the biggest clubs in the world. And we will find a way back to the top eventually. Until next time, stay strong, stay united, and let's hope for much better performance against Crystal Palace. This is United Daily Updates, your most trusted source for everything Manchester United. Thanks for reading, and we will see you in the next one.